Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Pronago, and this is HitEmUp versus Hamster. Do I need to say anything else? We've got Cosmonarchy cast on the menu. Hope you guys are having a good day. We got a gateway coming for Hit. We got a pool coming for Hamster. It is exactly what you would expect. This is going to be a fun little PvZ on Gildedwall. This is a map by Jujic. It's a port of Gildedwall from Starcraft 2. I can't remember the author of that volume in maybe, but I think that was a guy named Tokamak, so probably not. Either way, hope you guys are having a wonderful time. We got some epic stuff coming your way with all of the tournament games, and both of these players still alive in the tournament, waiting to participate in the next round of matches, which actually I have to schedule after I finish this cast. And it's going to be a good time to perceive just how strong they are in this particular matchup. There's been a lot talked about this matchup in particular, in specific. So I'm interested in how HitEmUp's approaching it. Of course, he's the Mondo player, the Aptos himself, the guy who definitely had the most fun playing Cosmonarchy as a Protoss main, I think. I think that's safe to say. He liked to build like artisans and one-base Empress and do all kinds of illegal stuff to Shopkeeper Dog mostly. But Hamster is a different beast, right? Hamster's already got a whole buttload of Zets moving across the map trying to be a little cheeky. Plays it a very different style than HitEmUp. HitEmUp's a lot more greedy, likes to leverage that larva. And yeah, I'm just interested in what he's going to do to try to hold this. I swear this is a good game, guys. I promise. It's not going to be a 3-minute, a 2-minute banger. As I'm sure this one Zealot will be more than enough to coincide with the Scribes. The Lattice is out in the little bit way late, so some workers are actually going to be preemptively pulled. He might actually pop that Lattice really good from Hamster to already knock HitEmUp back a little bit. Oh, and he's already going to lose a worker as well. Most of these Zeths are pretty, well, I guess a couple of these are pretty low. Nice drilling there. And he is trying to make sure that the Zealot stays alive as well, but he's kind of decolliding his own Zealot there. He needs to get back to mining. The Hierophant finishes up. Maybe as soon as the Zets were seen, he might want to have canceled that for another unit, another melee unit or something. But the Hierophant does do pretty well to force certain reactions here. And of course, we've got Quaz coming now for Hamster. Despite all of that economic damage, you know, the pulling of the workers, the killing of 2 Scribes, we do end up in a situation where HitEmUp has a worker lead and definitely has some tempo. Looks like he's waiting for money for another gateway. Oh no, it's a second Lattice. Okay, that makes more sense as well, I suppose. So doubling down on the Lattice after the fact is maybe a little bit of a mind game. It's not something the Hamster would necessarily predict. And he's not going to be able to, you know, kill any workers here with the Vassal. And Quaz are in the position to quickly there. But he gets a brief little scout of what's going on. Doesn't see the Vornath timing. But he should have looked at the worker count and then said, okay, yeah, that was pretty committed indeed. That being said, you know, cheekiness is exactly what both of these players like. It's just the different kind of cheeky, right? You got HitEmUp, who likes his wacky strats, particularly when he's playing Zerg. He likes his, you know, double Larvosk into Circuit at the ramp or whatever. Just be hyper greedy. And then Hamster over here, he enjoys being absolutely chaotic and eclectic. So I like it. I dig it. I feel like the way that we're going to see HitEmUp approach this matchup is going to be pretty interesting anyway, because he's also pretty vocal that it seems really difficult, really hard for the Protoss. I have heard the term unplayable thrown around. I can't quite remember if HitEmUp himself has said that as of the time of this game being played. I like that he's making idols already. I think the splash damage does help with that. But people have even cited the idol as like a unit that maybe doesn't quite perform the way that it ought to or needs to in the matchup. So I'm also, you know, going to be keeping tabs on how they do versus the Zeths, and of course the Vorvs are already out. This is a unit that has accosted Protoss many a time. If you guys have been around long enough to know, the Acropolis 2 qualifiers where Cannoli made his first arrival, he Zeth Vorved his way to Smarty Cakes' demise, and that was a ZVP matchup at the lower level, admittedly. Now, Vassal comes in here and he's going to see a Zeth hanging by 3 eggs. What could that be? So immediately upon that scout, HitEmUp starts to double back. I think this is the right move. He's going for his expansion, about halfway done, trying to scale up his economy and see what else he can do. But he probably is going to need either a critical mass of idols. I wouldn't hate pairing like 2 manifolds. If you think about the armor of the Vorv, you do sometimes want to make sure that you have the armor pen necessary for your idols to be breaching that Zeth Vorv armor, the Vorv armor in particular. And, you know, it's going to help you with anti-Zor use if they show up. Just helps everything. So I don't see a lot of Protosses doing that right now because, you know, the PvP you want manifolds because of the armor on all of the units, but PvZ, manifolds provide armor when they're attacking, by the way, armor pen, I should say, when they're attacking, and so it's a good counter to that. But PvZ, most people overlook it versus pool units, but listen, the idol is going to be able to do a bit more, right? 0 armor pen on this guy, he does 2 attacks, so he's doing 10 instead of 12 damage. It's going to add up. It's gonna be a little bit nicer when you got so many idols and all the splash damage factoring in as well. Is still just flatly reduced by armor, even though it's also reduced by being a splash fall-offs. Now, this is a really big tell here, but I like that HitEmUp is basically just forcing some of these units away. The Vassal here to scout up the high ground as well. Very nice. And he has forced some of those Vorvs away. There is a Kagrant mutating over here. HitEmUp has a pretty nice timing of his attack. He's got 8 idols. So he is going to start shredding some of these units. Those Vorvs not returning home. Instead, we have, yeah, that's going to have to be remorphed. A lot of Kagrants being put down in response to this. Hamster taking this incredibly seriously, but the idols are just mulching through all of those pool units. Is he actually going to be able to use what he's got? Oh, I love the lake is burrowing behind the egg. Unfortunately, not quite able to stop the idols from splashing it down. The Zealots standing on top of it as well. Does force down one of the circuits, another one halfway complete, and it looks like the units from the ramp are going to commence the breakout, or at the very least, you know, it's a soft containment here that HitEmUp is set up, because I don't think you can step outside of the static defense. Now, the Nathracors have arrived. Those were the flying units that we saw on the minimap earlier, but they just get annihilated by the idols and the Wardens, so a pretty good turnaround there from Hit. He doesn't have an embassy coming, so he doesn't have a witness to help deal with these Lakes or anything like that. Instead, he's choosing to just go for a 3rd base. That's going to kill his scribe, so at the very least, he can go ahead and take care of that and confirm the scouting information there for Hamster. But yeah, HitEmUp is very focused on just trying to keep this containment up. This is where you might want to start considering Drakodons, just so you have a heavy hitter against the presence of the Lakes. The quad snipe out some of those units there, but the Lakes were not able to move up. And trading down the chaff a little bit, it's pretty cheap. Zoryu's coming out as well to let those Lakes move a little bit faster. And yeah, this one Zeth is just off in the corner, hanging out behind the tree, waiting to ambush somebody. Crucible to empower the little production HitEmUp currently does have. But I'm a little worried he hasn't scaled his production up at all. He is being a little bit... Maybe greedy is the wrong word, precisely, but he's definitely being economically minded. We can say that pretty safely. And Crucible should finish up pretty soon nonetheless, and maybe he can use that as an opportunity to jump into Tier 3 tech. Leapfrogging the Tier 2 entirely, that might be his idea, as an embassy does indeed get made. Feels late, though, compared to how long ago he saw the Lakes. And this little box of units is going to have to collapse the front and fall back. Maybe he can go for a couple of these guys, but again, this is where, you know, we don't have any manifolds to respond to, like, the armor of some of these units. There is the 3rd base. Interesting, both players opting to take the sort of, I guess you'd call this 2 o'clock up here for the 3rd base of HitEmUp, and the counter position there would be 10 for Hamster. Nobody wants to go for the back bases, apparently. Now, that's a nice little pick, a freebie for the pathing. Hamster not being too on the ball with his unit movement. Okay, it's a bunch of grand libraries around the Crucible. Interesting choice. It is also empowering the Nexus, which helps out. We are going to see a couple extra Vassals being made. I wonder actually what the Vassal stack is intended to do. I think Air versus Lake is actually really strong. And I guess maybe the idea is that Vassals and Idols together can kind of sync up so that you can't just build Nathracors to eat the air units. Witness finally arriving. HitEmUp thinks he can just charge in here and reveal those Lakes. He loses 2 idols for the trouble and doesn't quite get much value afterwards. I like that he's fighting at the extremis of the range of the Lakes. If you think about it, you know, your Zealots are somewhat expendable, even though you only have the 1 gateway. Amaranths are starting to be made in higher number as these Grand Libraries warp in. We do have Atreus as well, but you can think of them as just a beefier Drac in some ways. They do have projectile collision, the way that the Idol does as well. So, frontliners are going to be bopped down first, but the Atreus is pretty strong stat-wise. A couple Heralds coming out as well. I think the Herald is a really good choice. So when the Vassal dies, or an Ecclesiast and a couple of other units too, the Vassal's corpse is consumed to speed up the army. And this is actually a really big catch here from Hamster. Because... yeah, we were exactly talking about that army speed move, and now HitEmUp has had to fall off of the cliff. But you think about the way that the Herald works, and basically the Herald provides you with that speed boost anytime any kind of ally dies. So Vassals obviously would count, but like the Zealot in that case that got picked by the Lakes and such, definitely can contribute positively. Bactylisks are being made. Very, very solid. During all this time, Hamster has scaled up his eco very nicely. He's gotten his third base. He's even rich capped. This witness has revealed that indeed we have a couple of those Lakes, and it does look like some manifolds were finally made, only to get deflated by all the Lakes finds. Yeah, pretty soon we're going to have those Bactyls out, and it does feel like if HitEmUp doesn't, go into like Clarion tech or a much heavier front line with more Amaranths and Heralds, I guess he does have more coming, he's going to need to make some, calculations about how he wants to engage with this. Heralds are very, very good for shield sustain, and also the engaged choice of like, okay, I got some expendable units towards the front that don't have that speed up passive on death. I'm going to give them that passive. And then also when the Herald dies, it takes enemy corpses and converts them into attack speed. So it's pretty useful even in death. Now the Witnesses dive in pretty deep. The Lake is actually not mostly in this fight, so it's a pretty committed attack as more Heralds come in for a wraparound. But even though he chews through a bunch of those units in the front, only now does his last Zoryus fall, and he wasn't really able to get into any of that backline territory. Even still, it does look like most of his army has survived. Not a whole... I mean, a lot of Zealots went down, but I don't even see like a lot of Amaranth corpses or anything. He's mostly been making Heralds, which is an interesting choice. They're well armored, so it's not a bad one. And a lot of Atreus's have come up as well. No Storm, no Cantavus for any splash damage here that's dedicated. And morphing the Bactyls right on the front line, that might be a little bit of a mistake from Hamster. His Lakes line moving up to help out, has the Zoryus speed boost to get a little bit closer. Very, very important here. And still, this backline from HitEmUp ranging down, but disengaging as the last of the Heralds start to falter. He's got more Amaranths that he needs to cycle up to the front. As more Bactylisks do indeed finish. A lot of Lakes have been pushed forward, but they're not in a good spot to actually contribute to the fight. Hamster making Hydras as well as some Zets. I think they're just going to get mulched, though. The Bactylisk count is still okay at 10, but it's going to struggle versus all the armor that's on display. Finally, a deviation in the pattern of expansion. We do have another base taken at the 11 o'clock. Meanwhile, the inner base here with less gas has been taken by HitEmUp, and he is adding a frustration stage in the background. We'll keep watching the fight for now. I do want to pan over the tech pretty soon, but the Lakes count very, very high. Witnesses spying. There's been no attempt at sniping out those detectors, and now some Vorvs come out, but he's not turning to fight them. This feels like an opportunity where he can turn around and fight since the Lakes are not in area. Oh, the Ovulettes come out, and the Witnesses, the poor control, finally biting HitEmUp back. He's no longer going to have the ability to just shoot those Lakes from afar. At the very least, he snipes the Ovulettes, so I guess the detectors haven't really been the pièce de résistance for either player. A lot more Bactyls being made right now, on the front line no less, and that's going to be 9 more, and the Bactylist count has only grown since the last time we checked at 11, so we're going to go up to 20 of them. That's going to overcome some of the armor there, but we do have a Crucible in the low ground, Prostration stages, 3 of them. And we're going to get a lot of Pariahs out, it looks like. I wouldn't hate some Sycophants and Clarions as well, but he doesn't have the Clarion tech, no Ardent Authority. Something that spreads shields to all units that it's linked to. Although Bactylisks can snipe it relatively easily, so I do understand the idea, the thought process behind not going for it. Nexus, perhaps, in the top right. Just waiting on the money. Good to see a really nice, big, long macro game it looks like we're in for, because I don't think that Hamster can quite finish the job here. And HitEmUp is going to have a nice, strong army soon. His Atreus count is big enough that he can mow through the Zoryus. He's even got some Barghest in production for that armor pen instead of the Manifolds. Thinks that it's safer to have the Flyers go for it. But his first Pariah has been collapsing, and the 26 Bactyls that are actually out right now are continuing to range things down. A Herald will falter, and that is going to speed up the attack rate of all of the Atreus's in the background there for just a fleeting moment. Last of the Pariahs fall, giving up that same benefit as they kill the Lakes. And yeah, it feels like his army is getting slowly whittled down. We've got only Zephyrcores coming, but not that much splash damage. One idol is on my screen, I have a second one up here. As long as he keeps Pariahs in place. Even making a Potentate, which is a funny unit to see. It's almost like an infantry strider in that way. Yeah, Vorvs being made at this point could be very, very deadly indeed. Just trying to stand on top of all the Lakes. It's a little bit rough. The Witness just on top of it to see everything, though. Only 4 Lakes remain. The Bactylist count still has not really been reduced as heavily as you would think with all of the units that have been made. It is a macro fight, and more than it is a micro fight, that's for sure. On both sides, players providing as whatever they can. Now, the 4 armor of the Pariah is definitely going to withstand more and more of the backfill count. And the lake is unburrowed, and it looks like Hamster will abate, falling back and trying to set up shop. He's got Agroleths up here at his 11 o'clock base, doing his best to add more static defense in case of an inevitable counterattack. And that is something that on this map, we're seeing HitEmUp struggle to effect. You know, he needs all hands on deck to defend the front post. Maybe now that there's a lull in the fight, he can pinch off an attack force of some kind. Doesn't have a big float, so we can't criticize him in that front. It's not like he's, you know, not got the money that he needs. In fact, he's got a humongous amount of workers here that he should definitely get transferred over when he can. We'll check his bases, check his tech. But it does look like the only development has been a lot of prostration stages. And the lake is count is renewed. That's what those burrowed attackers are all here for. And it doesn't quite look like there's a lot of detection here. A little bit of a acid spores reveal one witness, but there's still one in the back line. And look at the sycophants combining with the pariahs, adding so much value. That's going to allow those Atreus's in the back to continue pushing forward. Oh, man. There's something about this composition that feels like it's not quite as efficient as it could be from HitEmUp's sake, but he still breaks the line. And the Lakers looked like they were the deadliest component of that. If only Hamster had done something to snipe the witness so that it wasn't so easy for HitEmUp to do. Nonetheless, despite the fact that we are in an awkward spot for Hamster's development, he hasn't taken any economic damage. You haven't controlled the rate of growth for him. And he's got a bunch of workers waiting to saturate this base in the top left. Oh boy. That's going to be a little bit difficult. A scribe moves up to the 1 o'clock, but needs to be cleared out. Some Zorius on the rally. This could actually cause a bit of a crunch onto the army. Some charlatans being added at this stage is actually a good force multiplier. Since HitEmUp doesn't want to use any casters right now, he's not opting in for Cantavis for their abilities. Charlatans are a little bit more automatic in theory, but you know, you got a little bit less precision with where they're exactly attacking, unless you can micro their target. So he comes in for a nice blanketing, but this looks like a more advantaged fight for the Zerg. I mean, look at the wraparound here, and Atreus off to the side getting picked. He's going to be able to flank around that central lake as pariahs start to surge to the front and try to absorb so much of the damage. The backfill bounces will be targeting them instead of the backline. Even still, I'll HitEmUp staggers for a moment. He's got another pariah stuck inside his Atreus's. Hasn't been able to organize his army as well as he would have liked prior to the fight. That's why it started to look a little bit better. Oh my god, dude! 21 Lakers! Just an absurd number, and 10 more just hatched behind this. So we are going to have probably the most Lakers I've seen in any one moment. I mean, if you're here for the screenshots, you're here for the fights, you're seeing a lot of that, but it is just a lot of moving forward and fighting in middle. Meet me in mid, ARAM style. It's happening here on Gildedwall. No side alleys, no back alleys, nothing for either player right now. And the Atreus count still has not actually been heavily reduced, but the front line is dwindled to a point of nothingness. You can turn around and try to take a few snapshots at these Zorius and Lakers, but now his other base is starting to come under threat. A bunch of Wardens are warping in, but they're 30 seconds out from any sort of resolution. And admittedly, right, like Hamster's also trying to set up static defense at his 2 o'clock, or his 11 o'clock rather, but he doesn't have anything over here in the top left. There is, of course, the static defense present at the 10 o'clock base. And finally, we see tier 2 for Hamster. All this, and he's like, okay, I guess I'm just going to have to go tier 2 to actually break him. Pushing the Lakers forward. He's got a lot of units, but does he have the right composition of them versus what HitEmUp is breaking out with? Still no Storm or anything of the sort to try to control it. We have no Acantors. We got no ranged splash damage. But HitEmUp is determined to win without it, using Pariahs as his melee. He's got 3 more trying to wrap around the Atreus, but can't quite get to the front line. Now he's got to double back with those ranged units. The lake is moving forward on top of them. The Zorius rending their armor, making them harder to survive against the backfill count. Oh, it's an ocean of blood. But it seems like the blood is winning, as HitEmUp has been beaten back a little bit towards his Crucible. He's got more units where that came from. He's still trying to get his Pariahs onto the field, but look at all that. Look at all the Lakers. It's outrageous. Can't even get right on top. At least he's absorbing all the backfill counts. A beautiful amount of blood coming out of those Lakers stacked up. But the Crucible goes down, and that's all the power. There's not even a redundancy pylon. Why would you need it, you'd think? And it doesn't quite look like we have a victory here for Hit. He can't spend his money down when the prostration stages can't be powered, and he has no backup production anywhere else other than his main base. This is absolutely a dire position. He's got a lot of witnesses loose on the map. He can definitely see the lake is count. Zets run amok inside the 2 o'clock, and they're mostly waypointed after the workers. I'm not quite sure that they'll overrun the situation. And now, an Irelef to load the Khaz'trith into play. He's picked this unit, this structure up, and he's going to have it on the front line to clone the attacks of the Bactals, adding more and more damage so long as they're within the yellow aura. He's repowered the prostrations, has the pylons, but there's so much more to deal with. Mutat Spire on the way. HitEmUp adding his Ancestral Archives at this hour feels perhaps a little bit out of sync with what the game demanded. Optectons could have maybe helped him out. Archons, Patriarchs. The bottom line is that Hamster had his number with the pressure, and there was nothing to relieve it. Only one lane on this map, as far as our players are concerned. That was a cool game of Cosmonarchy. If you enjoyed it, make sure you check out our Coffee link. It's new and improved, just coffee.com/Cosmonarchy. We've got a Discord server, a Fluxer server, and of course, you can play against Hamster and HitEmUp if you want to try to replicate their playstyle or success. And I hope that you guys have a wonderful time of it. Yeah, that was just a cool game. I feel like it spoke for itself. We got some interesting ideas, PvZ. Not quite coming up HitEmUp's way. Let's see what happens in our next cast. If I stick with PvZ or if I have some other ideas I want to run down, you'll find out very soon. So subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you then. GG.